welcome back to Ninetail Hobbies, and in this one we're going to be doing the I am a Wargamer talk. I'd like to thank Miniocalypse for including me in on this, and I would like to throw it out to Phil's Minis, We Paint Minis, and Origin Painting if you guys haven't already done them. And I'll link you guys below. So, I'm not your typical wargamer, mostly due to the area that I've grown up in. And I'll get into that, but let's go into the Wayback Machine to young Drew in 4th or 5th grade. And at the school I was at, Dragonlance all of a sudden became very popular. I think one of the popular kids started reading it, and so it kind of filtered through. So I read my very first TSR novel, Dragons of Autumn Twilight, when I was in 4th or 5th grade, and I'd always been fascinated with knights and fantasy and all that stuff as a kid growing up, and this just cemented that whole thing. And at that point, from then on, I was hooked. I read any one of the books that I could get my hands on. And fast forward a few years, and I'm out walking around, and I see some of those pewter wizards that you see in like tourist trap places and everything, and was fascinated by them and thought it was super neat. And a few years later, I saw some Warhammer 40k early stuff. I think it was Eldar Phase Spiders, and just instantly fell in love. Thought they were super duper neat. But being a 10-year-old kid or early teenager, saw the price tag, and it was just not possible with the paints and everything thrown in. But later on, as I got older, I got into role-playing games, especially in high school. I got into all the White Wolf stuff, vampire and werewolf and mage, and I played a little bit of D&D. But being a super cool angsty teenager, D&D was too mainstream, so I had to do the off-brand stuff, as it was. And I still would see these minis every now and then, and just was absolutely fascinated by them, and always wondered, did they come like that? Did you have to paint them? And we had a new game store open up in town when I was a teenager, and they had, it was either Calidor or High Elf on Dragon Mount. And I just remembered staring at that thing. They had a whole display case. It was just like, I would love to learn how to do all this. But again, being a teenager with other interests, I didn't put my money towards minis, but I did end up picking up the original Mage Knight run and some HeroClix stuff, and did that on and off for years, but it wasn't super popular where I live, so it was mostly just playing with friends and collecting them. And it was neat having all these pre-painted stuff, but it was never quite the quality or anything that you wanted. And that was actually where my very first mini / conversion was done, because I wanted a particular character. They didn't have it, so I decided, I'd make my own. I wasn't really into mini painting, so I took the head off of another sculpt and some arms and kind of mashed them all together, and actually I still have it. So prepare for yourself for the epicness of this model. And for the first time, not really knowing what I was doing, it turned out pretty well, and I custom made the dial and everything. And I've always been into painting and drawing and some type of art in some form since I was a kid. And continue on years and years down the road, play all these long-term campaigns doing role-playing games. And a few years ago, I was in contact with one of my friends I had moved away that I used to roleplay with, and we decided to make a superhero RPG podcast, and we just had our 2-year anniversary. And that got me into trying to get in contact with a bunch of other people and trying to do things over video. But I didn't want to just do theater of the mind anymore. I wanted to try to make terrain, so I had been watching some of Wylock's stuff and Black Magic Craft and a couple other people, and was doing paper minis and building terrain and all this other stuff. And I was looking at, making my own paper minis, doing my own drawings for them and everything. And it just kind of got me wondering, like, what would involve me painting minis and everything? What would be the time sink now and the cost and blah, blah, blah. So I started looking and found some Infinity models and just absolutely fell in love and said, I have to paint these. So at the beginning of this year, it wasn't a New Year's resolution, but I was like, I'm going to learn how to mini paint. That's my goal for this year. And so that's circuitously how I got into mini painting and wargaming some more. I've got some Infinity models, and once all this nonsense is over with, I'm gonna go out and play some Code 1. But that's how I got into it, and that also kind of led into me getting into YouTube, because I went to school for editing and VFX and hadn't really got to do a ton of it since I graduated. A few freelance things here and there, but I really missed the editing. And I was thinking to myself, if I did a video diary almost, it would keep me responsible and keep me in the hobby and everything. And I was doing some test videos here and there, and tried a couple different things, and with mixed success. And I was listening to Hobby Time in the Murder Basement when Heath interviewed Jamie from Miniocalypse. And that interview just really resonated with me. A couple things that were said and really gave me inspiration. I was like, I'm going to do this YouTube thing. I'm at least going to give it a try. And that's how I got into it, just test videos. And I didn't really have the courage to do it, but listening to that interview really, like I said, sparked something in me. And where would I like to see the channel go in 5 years' time? I don't expect to ever be a mainstream popular YouTuber. If that happens, I would be ecstatic. But I think the way I'm gearing the channel and everything, there are so many more, not popular, but more gifted artists out there that know how to communicate what they want to talk about and have the experience to communicate those skills. Whereas this channel has a different flavor. It's not necessarily an instructional. I wanted it to be kind of more of an inspirational channel. But, like everybody on this, if this could become a living, that would be amazing. That would be beyond my wildest dreams. But honestly, if I knew that I helped or inspired one person to continue to paint by them watching something I did, that would be enough for me. Recently, Squidmar said something in one of his videos that I really liked and put things in perspective for me of, if you have it, do what you're going to do, but, and I'm paraphrasing, but if you have 5 or 15 friends that are watching your videos that are enjoying it, do it for them. And I think that's going to be my niche, but you never know. You never know what the future is going to bring. And the last question is, what advice would you give a hobbyist joining YouTube? And as someone new, besides all the technical stuff, the time sink, because it's a lot of work. The people that do this really well make it look extremely easy. And I mean, not only are you taking your time to paint, you're taking your time to make sure you're filming everything correctly and your edits are good and you've got your music and there's a ton of stuff, which I really enjoy the technical aspect of, but it is a lot of work. But my advice is find a goal. Find something either tangible or intangible that you can hold on to that is going to motivate you to continue to work, to continue to try. Because if you just kind of come into it flippantly, it might not be something that you can stick with. And, you know, maybe it's to become the most popular YouTuber ever. Or maybe it's something of you want to hit a certain number of followers or learn particular techniques or something. And a little bit of personal history. My motivation for this is my brother-in-law, who I was very close to, he passed away a few years ago, and he always had some models with him. It was actually these right here. It was these Tyrion and Teclis. I think these are old, second edition or something. They're like 82, 84 Warhammer models. And he's actually kind of the one that got me really into 40K, not necessarily, or not 40K, but Warhammer, Old Hammer. And never played it, but got fascinated by the lore. He had the original Gotrek and Felix novels, and I read all those and have continued to read them. And he had some, books that I've read through. This is just a couple of them. And, I found the lore fascinating and everything. And he always wanted to paint these models, but never got the chance to. So my goal, either through YouTube or just personally, my personal painting journey, my goal is to be able to paint these models that he never got to. Sorry. That he never got to a display level quality, something that I am proud with and would make him proud. And that's my personal motivation, through YouTube or not, but all these different techniques I'm trying and everything, that's my end goal. And if I ever hit that goal, which is going to be years down the road, hopefully I'll be able to find something else that motivates me. But that's what I think is important for someone entering the YouTube game. But thank you all for listening. If you stuck around this far, I really appreciate it. And next video, I'll be painting up something, trying to do something a little different. So thank you guys very much.